Good morning. Today I want to talk about the July 17th new moon. In fact, the entire lunar month that begins on July 17th and ends on August 16th with the next new moon. So let's see if I can share my screen so we can get started here. There's a lot to talk about. Okay, I just need to make a few quick adjustments. So just hang on. And I think we're ready to go. So the lunar month from July 17th, 2023 through August 16th, 2023. Okay, here's the new moon, and you can probably look at this chart and see there's a lot going on, a lot of tension. So let's break it down bit by bit. Also, for the most part, I'm going to restrict myself to aspects that are within 1 degree of being exact. Use a 1 degree orb, and I'll just make one uh, exception to that, which you'll see in a minute. So we start with Sun and Moon in Cancer, and this is putting for the entire month an emphasis on the home, security, your personal environment, and creating a nurturing environment for oneself. Okay. Now, this new moon, it sets kind of the tone for the entire month. It operates in the background. And as we look at the transits on the days that follow, we'll see how this new moon, the things that are contained within it are going to evolve and develop. Okay, here's the one place where I'm not using a 1 degree orb. We have Sun and Moon in Cancer, and that's going to be opposite Pluto at 29 degrees, 13 minutes Capricorn. Okay, that is an opposition. It's roughly a little more than 4 degrees for being exact, so it's outside of that 1 degree orb, but nonetheless, I think it's going to have an influence. Now, what does this mean? Well, with Pluto in Capricorn, Sun and Moon in Cancer, we have an opposition to authority figures, to old traditions, to individuals with power over you. But anytime we have an opposition, what we really need to do is integrate those opposites. So we can integrate by developing inner discipline, that's represented by Capricorn, and by embracing our inner power, that is represented by Pluto. Okay, now Pluto in Capricorn, that is going to be intensified by squares from the lunar nodes. And that means that autocrats and all individuals with power are going to be emboldened. Plus, we have Pluto, the lunar nodes, and Sun and Moon in cardinal signs. Those are signs that initiate actions. So, this is going to be a full moon that stimulates a lot of intensity and a lot of actions. What we need to do is to engage in positive actions to transform both ourselves and the world. Pluto can be death or it can be transformation. And we need to engage in positive transformation with these energies rather than doing something destructive. Okay. Also, on the new moon, we have Mercury in Leo square Jupiter in Taurus. Now, Jupiter is a drive toward expansion, but when you have a square, things don't coordinate so well. Mercury, of course, is our left brain, our thinking, rational mind. And with a square from Jupiter, that means enthusiasm can get out of control, or we might have some unrealistic optimism. And since the sign of Taurus is related to money and other earthly pleasures, we need to keep spending and other pleasures under control. And we have to temper this enthusiasm that Jupiter gives us with a dose of realism. Okay, also on the day of the new moon, we have Neptune in Pisces making a semi-square with Jupiter back in Taurus and a sesquiquadrate with Mercury uh, which is in Leo. And of course, Mercury is also squaring Jupiter. Now, these three guys, oops, I just dropped back one slide. Here we go. These three guys are making a triangle. They're all working together. And the point or pivot planet for this relationship is going to be Neptune. The semi-square and sesquiquadrate, they're not super easy relationships. They're like turning points. They're moments when something is changing. And they can also be sort of like breaking points. They can be a minor irritation. So to get the most out of this influence on Jupiter and Mercury from Neptune and Pisces, we need to focus on turning good visions and spiritual inspirations into good realities. Okay, also on this day, we have Mars and Virgo making a sesquiquadrate to Chiron and Aries. This can bring up health or work-related problems. That's a Virgo association. It could also result in some violence or wounding. And remember, a sesquiquadrate, it can be a turning point or a breaking point. Uh, However, here's what we really need to do. We need to open ourselves up to Chiron's drive, to transcend our daily lives, and to focus on bringing healing into our life and our workplace. Okay? Now, Chiron, it often manifests as wounding of some sort. Uh, but that's not really what it's trying to do. We don't really have a planetary drive which says, let's hurt ourselves today. Instead, what's really going on with Chiron is it resides in between Saturn and Uranus, and at some points it gets within inside the orbit of Saturn and outside of the orbit of Uranus. It is a bridge between the personal and the transpersonal. And what really tries to do is it urges us to transcend things, to get beyond our small way of looking at the world in reality and connect with the cosmos, with a larger reality. But in the process, it often has to break through that hard Saturnian shell we've set up. So, this is why, whenever you have something going on with Chiron, see if you can tap into that drive to transcend, if you can open yourself up to transcendence so that you don't have to be wounded in order for that to happen. Okay, what else is going on during the new moon? Well, we have Venus in Leo making a quincunx to Neptune and Pisces. And the quincunx, it's an aspect of change. It usually requires some adjustment of some sort. Venus tends to rule our right brain. It's actually the pleasure principle, our drive to reduce tension, as Freud defined that principle. In the process, well, uh, in a nonverbal way, we identify what we like and what we don't like, what feels good and what doesn't feel good. And this creates a nonverbal map of what we value and what we cherish. And so this is how Venus winds up being connected with that nonverbal right brain. Now, with the quincunx from Neptune and Pisces, we might experience some confusion. We might undergo some deception. We might be swayed by misinformation. Those would be negative aspects of Neptune and Pisces. What we need to do is tune into those higher aspects. We need to receive and adjust to higher spiritual energies without falling into delusion. And let's see, what else do we have going on? Well, uh, just a few hours after the new moon, the lunar nodes are going to shift from uh, Taurus and Scorpio, where they've been for several months, into Aries and Libra. And this represents a shift of focus from money and resources to the self and others until January 11th, 2025, approximately, when they change sign again. So, during this period, enjoy relationships with others. Focus on yourself and understanding who you really are at the deepest possible level. You want to go beyond the labels you put on yourself, like my name is so and so, and I'm a mathematician or a dancer or astrologer. Go back to who you were before you had all these labels. Do a deep in- inquiry into who am I? Who am I? Find your deepest possible self within. And that's a good way uh, to deal with things uh, while the lunar nodes are going through Aries and Libra. Okay, a few days after the new moon, we get to July 21st, 2023, and this may be the most intense day of this lunar month. And just look at all the squares and oppositions in red and quincunx in green that we have. We have a few beneficial aspects here, trines and sextiles shown in blue, but it looks like it's going to be pretty intense. So let's break it down. First, we have the Sun, Pluto, and the lunar nodes. They're going to be all of them at 29 degrees in cardinal signs. So the tension is really going to be intense on this day. And remember that cardinal signs denote action. So watch to see what actions take place on this particular day. In particular, there may be clashes between authority figures, that's represented by Pluto and Capricorn, and people who want to feel safe in their own environment, that's represented by Sun and Cancer. Things again will be quite intense this day. What you need to do is embrace your own power, Pluto, and discipline, Capricorn, in order to feel secure. That's Sun in Cancer. Also on this day, we have Mars in Virgo opposite Saturn in Pisces. You can see Saturn is at 6+ degrees Pisces, Mars at 7+ degrees Virgo. So they've just very recently been in exact opposition. And this kind of aspect traditionally can lead, it can create a frustration that can lead to violence. That is definitely what you want to avoid. So, what should you do? Well, actively, Mars, attend to details, Virgo, in order to make your dreams and spiritual aspirations. I've got Neptune here, I should say Saturn. Or I should say Pisces rather, uh, which is ruled by Neptune, in order to make your Piscean dreams and spiritual aspirations a concrete reality. That's going to be Saturn. Okay, I'm just going to change this real quickly from Neptune to Pisces. And let's see. So let's see if I can end the show, go back one slide. There we go. And now we can move on. Okay, also on this day, Neptune in Pisces is making a semi-square to Jupiter in Taurus. That's going to be a minor irritation, again, kind of a turning point or breaking point. And at this time, fantasies represented by Neptune can lead to excessive Jupiter spending or parting, represented by Taurus. Okay, what you want to do is magnify your positive visions. Jupiter magnifies. Neptune and Pisces has visions. Magnify that and not misinformation. And then enjoy life. That's your Taurus sign, earthly pleasures. Enjoy these earthly pleasures in safe ways. Okay. Also on this day, Venus in Leo, semi-sextile Sun in Cancer, and sesquiquadrate Pluto and Virgo. This is completing another triangle, so Venus is going to be the point planet on this. The quincunx and the semisextile, they require some adjustment, some change. And these aspects can create some tensions involving one's values and likes and dislikes. That's Venus. So what we need to try and do is adjust one's perspective in order to deal with the tensions between individuals, the sun, and those in power, Pluto. We also have Venus in Leo making a trine to the North Node in Aries as sextile to the South Node in Libra. So again, this is another way in which Venus is going to be the point planet. And this suggests that we need to utilize kindness and personal creativity. That's Venus in Leo. Leo is our personal creativity in order to reduce tensions in your life and in the world. And since it's going to be a trine and a sextile involved, this is going to be a little easier to do. So on this day where we have a lot of tensions, Venus can play a very important role. Respond to everything with love and kindness. Okay, also on this day, we have Mercury in Leo trying Chiron in Aries. And this will be a day, in spite of all the tensions, it's also a day in which we can more easily tune in to the transcendent energies of Chiron with our rational mind, our left brain. So open your mind to Chiron's call to transcend your limited personal reality and let yourself feel your connection to a larger universe. Now, the very next day, July 22nd, Venus in Leo turns retrograde until September 4th, right as it makes a strong quincunx to Pluto in Capricorn. Okay, this quincunx from Venus to Pluto, that is going to require change or adjustments to power and probably to individuals in power. But when a planet goes retrograde, its expression is more inward. So what we need to do at this point is recognize that we need to go within for the next 6 weeks and contemplate how best to deal with those in power. It's a good time for inner contemplation. Let's see, also on July 22nd, Pluto is going to make an exact square to the lunar nodes. So this is when things will be at their most intense. And by the way, this square between Pluto and the lunar nodes, it's there for almost the entire lunar month. So this is really going to make the whole month more intense. And because the true uh, position of the lunar nodes, if you look at its true positions, it kind of zigzags back and forth a little bit as it's going retrograde. As a consequence, this particular aspect, these squares will be exact on July 22nd, 25th, and 28th. So we're going to have about a week of intensity here. And during this week, the actions of autocrats, people in power, individuals in power will be intensified. Again, look at Venus here. It's making a sextile and trine to things, a quincunx to things. This is the key to how to deal with this. We need to focus on kindness and personal creativity, Venus and Leo, in order to diffuse the tension. And following July 22nd, on July 23rd, Chiron in Aries is going to turn retrograde until December 28th. Okay, so this uh, urge, this drive to transcend, it's going to be turned inward rather than outward. So what you need to do is to go again to your deepest self and awareness within for spiritual transcendence. Listen to that still small voice within you. And once more, ask yourself, who is it that is observing this world? We tend to identify with so many things in the outer world, and we identify more with our description, our verbal description of who we are, than who we actually are. When you transfer that sense of who you are from just the verbal description, which took a few years to develop anyway, and which is always changing, if you move that focus from the verbal description, from your verbal description to your true silent awareness within, that kind of distances you a bit from all the drama out there in the real world. And that makes it easier to stay balanced. And this period that will last from July 23rd until December 28th, this is a good time, a long time to focus on doing just that. Go within. Okay. On July 25th, we have the first quarter moon. Moon's going to be in Scorpio, squaring Sun and Leo. And in the ancient Babylonian calendar, this was seen as a day of stress. Actually, the new moon, the first quarter moon, the full moon, third quarter moon, they were all seen as days of stress in the Babylonian calendar. And so, to deal with that stress, to avoid accidents, they were also days of rest. And it's only if you don't refrain from doing certain activities that evil could befall you. Now, with Moon and Scorpio, there are going to be strong desires, but since we have the square here, those desires may not serve your needs. So, it's recommended that you refrain from activity on this day and just enjoy a day of rest as much as you can. Okay. Now, at the same time, we have Venus now retrograde in Leo, making a strong quincunx to both Pluto in Capricorn and Neptune in Pisces. Again, uh, Venus is going to be the pivot planet here. It can help us resolve the tensions. The quincunxes want adjustment. They want some change. So what you can do here is let your right brain, Venus, embrace a sense of higher power, Pluto, and a deeper spirituality, Neptune. Okay, on July 27th, Mercury is going to move into the position that Venus was just in. So Mercury in Leo, quincunx, Pluto in Capricorn, and Neptune in Pisces. And actually, Venus is still doing it pretty strongly too. It's still at 28 plus degrees Leo here. Uh, but with Mercury entering into the picture, now you can let your left brain, Mercury, digest your right brain's, Venus, recent experiences of a higher power and deeper spirituality. And this is going to take us up to the full moon on August 1st. And just look at what a mess this is going to be. They're all going to be major and minor negative aspects, except for this one trine we have here. Okay, so let's look at it piece by piece. At the full moon, we have Sun and Leo opposite Moon and Aquarius. And with the Moon in Aquarius, that's going to shift the focus from autocrats and individuals to humanitarian concerns, the needs of the collective, and solving problems by working with others. So that is a recommended activity at this time. We still have Pluto and Capricorn squaring the lunar nodes. So the sense of power is still being intensified, but uh, the lunar nodes are separating from those exact squares, so that means that the influence is beginning to wane. Nonetheless, uh, What you need to do with this aspect is embrace your power, Pluto, and channel it with discipline. That is Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn, which is our drive to regulate and control yourself. So you may feel this intensity, but as best you can, channel it, discipline it into something positive. Okay, on this day, we also have Saturn in Pisces opposite Mercury in Virgo. And this is a classic aspect for frustration. So on this day, many will probably feel frustrated in their efforts to do detailed thinking. Detailed thinking is represented by Mercury, the left brain, and Virgo, which focuses on all the little details. So what can you do? Well, think with discipline while allowing a drifting focus to be a gateway to inspiration. You're probably not going to be able to focus completely on this day. Saturn in Pisces is going to give some fuzzy boundaries to things. So try and use that to your advantage. If you find your mind drifting, let it drift. See where it takes you. See what inspiration that drifting can bring to you. We also have Chiron in Aries making a semi-square to Saturn in Pisces at the same time, making a sesquiquadrate to Mercury and Virgo. Again, turning points, breaking points, times to change things, maybe a little bit of irritation here. Uh, this, on one hand, it means that frustrations might be compounded by wounding of some sorts. Uh, but remember, Chiron doesn't really want to wound you, it wants you to transcend. So this is going to be nudging you toward transcendence. And this is going to be the point planet which can take you out of the frustration of this opposition between Saturn and Mercury. So let a sense of the transcendent and one's inner spirituality be a guide to resolving frustrations. All right. Also, during this full moon, we have Mars in Virgo, making a semi-square to the South Node in Libra, a sesquiquadrate to the North Node in Aries, and also a sesquiquadrate to Pluto in Capricorn. Again, we got some irritation here, turning points, breaking points, changing things. And Mars is going to be the point planet for all of this. So this could be a day on which one's energy may feel minor irritations or like it's reached a turning point. What we need to do here is calm down and work in a slow but methodical way. Methodical that is represented by Mars being in Virgo. So just work the problem. Don't panic. Just calmly work the problem. Make the changes, the transitions you need to on this day. Let's see, what else do we have during the full moon? Well, we have Neptune in Pisces, semi-sextile, the North Node in Aries, Quincunx, the South Node in Libra, and Venus also makes a quincunx to Neptune in Leo. For this configuration, uh, Neptune in Pisces is going to be the point. These aspects, again, they require some change, some adjustment. And this could be a day on which a more intense confusion may be felt. But again, what you need to do is tune into the higher spiritual states represented by Neptune and Pisces and fuse them with love corresponding to Venus. And since Venus is in Leo, infuse it with personal creativity too. And let's see, another aspect on the full moon on August 1st is Jupiter in Taurus making a trine to Mars in Virgo. And this is the one positive aspect of the day, which is within a 1 degree orb of being exact. So this will probably be a day on which we also feel an urge to expand, Jupiter, one's use of energy, Mars, to attend to physical or mental details, represented by Virgo. What you want to do is amplify your energy slowly. That is represented by Taurus here, so as not to trigger any accidents related to the semi-square or sesquiquadrates that we see Mars making here with the lunar nodes and with Pluto. So you're going to have that drive to expand your energy, be a little bit more uh, energetic, either physically or mentally, but be careful as you do it, because you don't want some accidents to result. Those sesquiquadrats could mess things up a little bit, so just take it slow and easy the way Taurus likes. Okay, now if we move on to August 8th, that's going to be the third quarter moon. We're going to have Moon in Taurus square Sun in Leo. And again, the third quarter moon is a day of stress on the Babylonian calendar. So this is a day in which you want to be able to rest as much as possible. So slow down and enjoy some earthly pleasures. That's going to be Moon and Taurus, while connecting with one's inner creative joy. That's represented by Sun and Leo. Okay, now August 12th, 2023. What's different about this chart from all the others we've looked at? Well, the one big difference is you no longer see those squares between Pluto and the lunar nodes. So on this day, this is when Pluto is no longer within 1 degree of squaring the lunar nodes. The intensity of individual powers now feeling quite diminished. We have a semi-square, a semi-sextile, a couple of quincunxes. So one thing we need to do is focus on minor changes while reveling in a sense of a more transcendent energy, which is represented by Chiron making a trine to the sun in Leo. This is a day in which it's going to be easier to feel the transcendent aspects of Chiron. So make this sort of a day to celebrate yourself. You might read Walt Whitman's Song of Myself and celebrate that way. That can bring in some nice transcendent energies about your inner self, your true self. And it's very nice that the uh, Pluto in Capricorn, those autocratic tendencies that drive for individual power, it's no longer going to be intensified so much by the lunar nodes. And finally, on August 16th, we have the next new moon, which starts a new lunar month, this new moon occurring in Leo. But this next lunar month, that's going to be a topic for another day. That's the end of this presentation. And if we look at what's been going on throughout the entire month, we could say that what we need to do overall is slow down, go within, embrace all parts of your being. Don't try and repress things, try and embrace things. If something feels negative, embrace it and understand it, and that way you can regulate it. Above all, approach everything with kindness and love. It's going to be a pretty intense month, but if you do these things here, you'll probably get through it okay and come out ahead in the transcendent, the enlightenment, and the love categories. So be kind to yourself and others. Okay. And let's see, that's going to be the end of this slideshow. So let's see if I can stop sharing here. Okay. that's the end of this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some good things out of it. And I'll see you again in the future. So long. Be kind.